Mike Cannon-Brookes.
Bold plan to give Australians the lowest priced power in the world.
He believes
AGL, Australia's biggest and oldest energy company,
could quit using coal by 2030.
It's a seismic shift. Suddenly you have Australia's biggest polluter in the hands of a controller who intends to decarbonise as soon as they possibly can.
There's been an extraordinary bid, possibly the most extraordinary bid in the history of the Australian electricity market, to buy AGL, which is both the biggest energy company in the country and the biggest emitter of greenhouse gas. It's an $8 billion bid, give or take, that would, if successful, lead to the takeover of all of AGL's electricity generation assets, that's coal, gas and renewable energy, and its retail business that has 4.5 million customers across the country. The bid is headlined by Mike Cannon-Brookes, a multi-billionaire listed as Australia's third richest person, the co-creator of the software company Atlassian, and has made a name in recent years as a renewable energy investor, a green solution investor, and a climate change advocate. He's doing this with Brookfield, which is a massive Canadian asset management firm. It's actually the major partner in this bid, about 80%. Now, AGL was very quick to reject the deal. That probably wasn't unexpected, and the consortium is persisting, saying they want to speak more to AGL management and to the shareholders if necessary to try to get a deal. I think it's very much watch this space at this stage. There are multiple reasons they're wanting to do this, but the headline-grabbing one that we've heard a lot about, and we'll continue to hear a lot about, is if they were successful, they would want to shut down AGL's coal-fired power plants much earlier than is currently planned. We've got 2 plants on AGL's books that at the moment are due to run until 2033 and 2045. This consortium, if successful, would shut them by 2030, they say, and make the company net zero emissions by 2035, which is an extraordinary change from its current position. They say they have up to $20 billion in addition to the purchase cost that they would spend on building the replacement generation and contracting the replacement generation, solar and wind and batteries, that would be needed to replace the coal plants as they shut early. Now, Cannon-Brookes, who's been the public face of the bid, has stressed that this sort of change in AGL would bring the company into line with the global push to limit global heating to 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels, which is what all the scientific advice says is what we should be aiming for. Looking at it another way, it would be cutting about 8% of Australia's national carbon footprint this decade on top of what is otherwise planned. Cannon-Brookes stresses this, describing it as one of the biggest decarbonisation projects on Earth, which is a fair description, I think. It's hard to understate how significant this would be if it were to come off. It really is an extraordinary offer that is unlike anything we've seen before. Cannon-Brookes makes the point that AGL, as a publicly listed company with only limited access to capital, is constrained by how quickly it could make this change, whereas this private ownership model, Brookfield and Cannon-Brookes' Grok Ventures, has much more access to capital and really could make this change quite quickly. And it would be transformational in Australia's electricity grid and really bring forward its shift towards zero or near zero emissions much more rapidly. Government and businesses across the world know this transition is coming, and the Morrison government acknowledges it's coming. But the government's position is really that our coal-fired power plants should run to the end of their lives. The Prime Minister says,
our government is very committed to ensure we sweat those assets for their life, to ensure that businesses can get access to the electricity and energy that they need.
Now, as they were originally designed, some of these power plants are already at the end of their lives, but we're going to increasingly see those closure dates come forward just because coal-fired power is uneconomic when it's competing with a growing influx of renewable energy into the grid. All the expert advice from the Australian electricity market operator is that this is possible to change this rapidly, but no one should believe that it's straightforward. We do need a huge amount of generation to be built to replace our coal fleet. Coal still provides more than 60% of Australia's electricity. Everybody knows it's going to go. It's just really how rapidly we can do it, how quickly we can build out the capacity needed to replace it. It's physically possible, but it requires the investment to be there.